It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's about it. That's all I got.
Summer movie season?
No. Fall movie season has strangely become one of the better ones.
I was just going to say, I think looking at the November slate of movies, having already gotten through 3, right?
Yep.
It's on pace to be better than any month this year.
I kept thinking that during literally like the last 2 weeks. I'm like, I remember like 2 months ago, I was like, there's nothing to see. You can go and see Spider-Man a second time if you want.
Yeah.
Now
we have things to talk about.
We have so many things. We have too many things to talk about, in fact. But welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. We've got a bunch of things for you today. I am home with the movies.
And I'm Jackson.
And we're Bored and Annoyed.
Well, I know you're annoyed. Just hopping right into our singular news topic of the week.
Sure, let's just go into Bored and Annoyed with the news. So Martin Scorsese had an op-ed.
Yes.
Are you going to pull this up so we can kind of just go line by line like I was originally thinking?
I'm pulling it up. Scorsese, as you know, if you've listened to this show, has had a few comments regarding Marvel. And clearly
the shill is upset.
Yeah, the shill is upset. But no, he was asked about it a couple times. He basically took this opportunity to explain his comments regarding calling Marvel not cinema
with an op-ed in the failing New York Times.
It's fake news.
It's totally fake.
But no, let's be real here. He's also marketing his own movie right now.
He is.
Yeah. So there's no accident. Why we're hearing from Martin Scorsese right now.
There's no accident that it is brought up at least once in this article.
Sure. Yep, it is. That's true. So yeah, the gist of it is basically it's a lot of stuff about boardroom creation of films versus like the auteur theory, where it's like it's his movie, and it's your writer director type situations. He brings up Ari Aster, which I gave him credit for.
Right.
But yeah, as I was reading this, to be honest, I was probably more warm towards this than you were. But there are things I disagree with regarding him saying like nothing's ever at stake. It's not about characters like looking themselves in the mirror and figuring out who they are. That kind of shit that he said, I don't agree with. If he's talking about Marvel specifically, which he is. Yeah. So, my
general thought on this is I'm tired of this.
Okay.
I'm just like, I had initial pissed off, but I'm just...
Your initial reaction was like you didn't really care. And then he said something again, and then it annoyed you.
Well, I got mad. We texted about this last night for people to pull back the curtain and see. And I did. I got mad. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just done. I just wish that he would say something as simple as, they're not for me. I have my reasons, but they're just not for me. And not try to denigrate them. Even though this whole thing is, let me clarify, it's really not as bad as you think. Well, actually, no, you're just elaborating on why it actually is as bad as I think.
So what if it's not just that they're not for him? I mean, he says that, but his point would be that they are these like entertainment vehicles that aren't the same as a piece of cinema where someone writes, directs, comes up with the idea, takes a risk. Nobody's telling them what they can or can't say. Actually, the first thing I thought of on this was the guy who was going to do Ant-Man, who did Edgar Shaun of the Dead. Right. So from what I understand, he had left that project basically because Marvel was saying, no, we're not going to use your script. You can be on as a director, but
the idea was, look, you wrote the original script before we had a shared universe. Now we've got connections and people want to see a little bit of connections. So can we put in a couple scenes or can we tweak some scenes so that there are some references to the wider universe?
And he said no.
Then Marvel went and they basically kept a lot of his script, but they did add a couple scenes.
And he got credits on it.
And he did. But he got pissed and he left.
Sure.
But I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, Edgar, you wrote this script like 6, 7, 8 years ago. And like, I feel like you kind of had to know what you were getting on board for when Marvel became what Marvel is.
But I guess the point would be the goal there for the studio putting out the movie is not to, bring this singular filmmaker's vision to life as much as it is to make sure that it's this product that can fit in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right. Well, and I look at it.
I get that.
There are problems with sort of both ways of looking at it. I look at it like, okay, so he says something like, let's see here. For me, the filmmakers I came to love and respect for my friends who started making films. Cinema was about revelation, aesthetic, emotional, and spiritual revelations. It was about characters, the complexity of people and their contradictory and sometimes paradoxical natures, the way they can hurt one another and love one another and suddenly come face to face with themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, did you watch? I mean, you didn't, because you admit that you tried to watch a few, but you couldn't do it.
Well, that's my problem.
But it's like, this is all of Tony Stark. This is a lot of Bruce Banner. This is a lot of Captain America. This is a lot of Thor. This is a lot of the main themes of the whole goddamn series.
Yeah, that's where like I said, that's where I kind of had a bone to pick with what he had to say, because I don't agree with that. The stuff that he said regarding, the difficulty for a new filmmaker kind of break out with a big movie is that's true, I would imagine. But again,
there's a part of me that thinks he sounds very privileged when he says that, though, because a lot of filmmakers that are trying to make it and like make a big name for themselves would be happy if their film ends up on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or wherever. Yeah, sure, it's maybe not a theater, but if they're really struggling, they want anybody to watch the fact that anybody is watching it, period, means that they succeeded on some level.
That's true, but you're not going to get like those cultural zeitgeist movies. Like they're outside of that. And where I think that he's definitely wrong.
I think he's also wrong about that, though.
He says shit about how he basically
Get Out
blames.
Was that.
Yeah, but it's not anywhere near like, okay, nobody talks about that now.
Hereditary is one of those.
Yeah, but that's like an independent movie that made like $30 million.
But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is those movies exist. They're still making it to the theater.
Though. My point is he also tries to put the blame on the fact that everybody goes and sees Marvel movies on Marvel because I think like he's saying that that's what they're feeding them. So that's what they go see.
Yeah.
But this is where I kind of blame audiences, because anyone who's bitching about Marvel, or, anyone who's bitching about franchise movies or these reboots or whatever, like there's plenty of shit to see. It's just rare that there's something big that really hits that isn't a franchise movie right now. But like 1917 is coming out like in the next month or so. That looks like a pretty big movie. It
looks pretty fun. Yeah.
Now, is it going to make a boatload of money? Probably not. But how is that anyone's fault except for the people that don't want to pay to go see that movie?
Right.
You know what I mean? So like cinema is turning, or the theater, I think what he's upset about is turning into this like, okay, well, people only want to go see event pictures now.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, whose fault is that? I don't blame Disney for that.
But that's kind of how it's been for a while. And some people will say like, oh, well, the big Marvel movies killed the mid-range movie. No, really what happened is streaming killed the mid-range movie.
Sure. And he talks about that though.
Right. And it's like, I don't see it, like even the idea, like even from a logic standpoint, the idea of, well, of course, people are going to want more of what you give to them. That doesn't even hold up from a logic standpoint.
No, I don't understand that, because it's supply and demand. And people
it's like
want to see more Marvel movies than come out with Marvel movies and put them on 33% of your screens.
And we can talk about how, if that's the case, well, we've had how many fucking Terminator movies, and this movie bombed gloriously.
Love it. Love that it bombed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that with the review, but I mean, the whole idea that like, well, you just keep feeding people stuff and they'll be happy with it, it just doesn't hold up.
That's true. It's got to be quality. But okay. So to his point, as far as cinema, like here's the issue. he's defining what cinema is, first of all, which that's his opinion.
Right.
I don't think that's the definition of cinema, or this, what I'm about to say is, but like, I get the idea that like you go see something by, Edgar, whatever. What's his name?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright, or you go see an Ari Aster or Robert Eggers or whatever, that it does feel more like or Jordan Peele. Like you're getting to know that person who crafted this film, right?
Yeah.
And Marvel doesn't. I mean, you get the tone of some of the directors, like a James Gunn, Taika, whatever, but it's not like you're getting this like window into the soul of that person, in my opinion.
Maybe,
but does that mean
not.
It's not cinema?
Right. Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
We even talked about this a little bit in our text, which is the idea of like the auteur theory is the only real art, which I vehemently disagree with, because look, cinema has been, what do they call it? They call it commercial art for decades and decades and decades. It's literally been that. Movies have never been made as art for simply art in a real large way.
No, they're meant to make money.
Ever.
I mean,
basically ever.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Now, you're incredibly privileged if you think that that's what cinema is a man just expressing himself. It's like, no, that cost $20 million for you to express yourself. So sorry, but no. So that's a problem, is the idea that somehow this is any different than what we've experienced before. It's not. It's just on a larger scale.
Sure.
2, the idea that the auteur is the only real vestige of art is garbage.
Yeah, why can't art be made by multiple people?
I mean, what is a writer's room if not multiple people coming up with ideas for a story? And guess what? There are great writers' rooms. I mean, there were writers' rooms on some of the greatest TV shows of all time.
Yeah, well, and isn't it kind of just stuffy to have this like art? Like I know it's art, okay, but like, it's a fucking movie.
Right. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like if the goal of Marvel is to entertain the masses and give them meaningful stories, at least they mean something to the people who love them, right?
Sure.
And give them good characters, and, maybe there's a miss once in a while. Maybe some of them feel a little bit, like, okay, we've been there, done that before. But in general, I don't understand why it's not cinema.
Right. Well, and I tend to like, okay, so one of his things is he's talking about like modern cinema, and he says the modern film franchises marketed, or that's the nature of modern film franchises: market researched, audience tested, vetted, modified, re-vetted, and remodified until they're ready for consumption. And it's like, you know what? That's most movies in general, because half the time you hear these master directors talk about the pictures made in the editing room. Well, what is that if not you re-vetting your movie to make it more appealing to an audience? Also, you know what? You have a point here. That is accurate. There are people that keep re-vetting and rechanging and going. I mean, it's what's wrong with the most modern Terminator movie. But the real point is that if it's well made, if it's well crafted, you're picking on the wrong person. You should be picking on the Terminator franchise, or fuck. I mean, we see so many of these terrible ones. Why would you possibly come at like the people who are doing the big budget movies the best?
Well, and it's kind of funny because like Rian Johnson was like the auteur of The Last Jedi, written and directed by Rian Johnson, and it's a pile of shit. I would have rather had a boardroom of people that decided something good to put on screen for me. But yeah, he's Martin Scorsese. He can really say what he wants at this point.
He can say whatever he wants. It doesn't mean he's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he makes some decent points. Like, it's kind of shitty that we're never going to have this like giant cultural movie that's huge. I feel like it's not going to happen unless it's part of some fucking franchise.
I think that's where we're at right now, but I think that's a moment in time. I think it's very easy to get trapped in it. I mean, we had Avatar, and now that's becoming a series, but it wasn't. Well, we had Titanic.
And somebody I talked to about this brought this up and kind of said it's kind of like music. It's the same thing. Like, where's the next giant like Metallica or, You know what I'm saying? It's like the method of consumption has completely changed the way all this shit works.
Right. I think part of
he's kind of having trouble understanding that.
He's bemoaning it because people, like, the theater going experience costs a lot, and the average person goes to see 2 movies a year. That's the average.
Is that true?
That's the average person. 2, maybe 3. They watch the rest at home because it's damn near theater quality in their home.
Right.
And look, what you're looking at is we're mourning the idea of a shared identity is basically what this is. Look, we used to have 3 channels for TV. Everybody went to the fucking movies. It was a cultural event. And guess what? That is wildly... even the early 90s when we grew up is vastly different from a media landscape to what we're facing now.
Oh, yeah, completely.
And so
you're looking... so much shit that if I turned on this TV right now, we could find so much shit in genres that we enjoy to watch that we've never seen or heard of.
I literally had a friend say there's this great show on Sci-Fi. And I'm like, dude, I have 4 streaming services that I need to get within the next week. Right. I just moved. So I have to
you have to kind of figure all that shit out.
Well, and I just went through a...
Congrats on the move, by the way.
Thank you. But, it's one of those things where it's there's too much to watch. And really, it's just the splintering of audiences, which is nothing new. We've been dealing with the better part of almost 2 decades now.
It's funny, too, that he brings up Hitchcock in his because he's bringing up that was kind of the old Marvel.
Right.
Right. Yeah, but the difference being, I guess, that Hitchcock probably had massive control completely to himself over everything that he was making.
Sure.
I would imagine. But.
Sure. I don't, trust me. There's such legitimacy to the point of it's really great to see one person's vision.
Right. Yes.
But I don't immediately disregard something that's made by a committee if the committee is full of talented, smart people.
It's true.
And
there's just certain shit that could never be done.
Sure.
If it was just one guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even the movies that any big budget movie that's kind of, helmed by one main guy, they're going to need a ton of help along the way. They didn't do everything with that art.
No.
Denis Villeneuve didn't do everything with Blade Runner 2049.
He talks about how great the cinematographer was and how much that helps his movie. It's it seems very dismissive and it seems very reductionist to say it's made by a committee, therefore it's bad. It's every movie is literally made by a committee.
Is he saying it's bad though? I don't think he's saying it's bad. He's just saying it's different than the quote unquote cinema that he has defined it as in his mind.
But that's his point with the whole modern film franchise are market researched, audience tested, vetted. He's painting that in a negative light. That's his whole point. This is bad.
He's not wrong. You can feel it when something's like that.
When it's poorly done, yeah, absolutely. But that to me, that's just an argument of competency. People shouldn't be making movies if they can't understand what makes a movie good. I don't want people in those committees who suck at their job.
Yeah, but I'd rather watch a movie that's decent or okay, or sometimes maybe even a little bad if it's something interesting that I have not seen before, or if it doesn't feel like it's just following the same exact beats every time. So
I will never say I don't want people to misunderstand. I don't want you to misunderstand.
No,
I really love the individual artist's point of view.
Sure.
But also it's somewhat of a lie because there's always collaboration.
It's true. Rian Johnson didn't really make The Last Jedi all by himself, right?
But the big thing that really got me, it was near the end where he says, and I fear that the financial dominance of one, he's talking about the 2 kinds of film you see.
The franchise tentpole, yeah.
We have cinema, and then we have, digital entertainment or worldwide audiovisual entertainment is what he calls the other. So there's cinema, worldwide audiovisual entertainment. And he says, and I fear that the financial dominance of one is being used to marginalize and even belittle the existence of the other. And to me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, you just wrote an article belittling the other one. You're using cinema.
Yeah, but it's always okay to punch up at the big guy, isn't it?
I suppose, but is it, to me, okay,
He's saying it's not art. So yes, he is insulting it, basically. He's essentially saying it's not art. He's saying there's very talented artists that are working on the movies, right, but that in and of itself, it is not cinema.
Right. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, you know what? Is it punching up, or is it just the same old look at these nerds and that stupid shit that they like?
Oh, so you think that this is like a Bill Maher-esque type?
I think it's very Bill Maher-esque. Okay. I think
I don't think you're wrong. I think there's probably a bit of that.
And I do. I mean, because he talks about the movies that he likes, and they're all set within reality. And it's like, you know what? If you have a problem with spaceships or aliens or elves or whatever the fuck, I mean, that's your taste. But don't ever conflate the two, your taste and cinema being synonymous. They're not. And it just feels very arrogant. And it is. I said to you, he is a bully, and he's the worst kind of bully because he's the one who believes that they're the victim.
He's justified, right? He's justified in his mind with his opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agreed with probably 50-50 of what he had to say in there. Everybody should read it. If you're a fan of movies, I mean, it's worth reading. I just think it's really reductionist. I think that's the real problem with it. I'm not saying he doesn't make good points. You love Marvel, too. So let's be honest about the bias here.
Right. Right.
But you wouldn't love Marvel if you didn't think it was like an art form in and of itself, or cinema.
I wouldn't love it if I didn't think it was well made.
Right.
And I point out all the ones that I don't think are well made. Sure. Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and Wasp, Thor: The Dark World, Age of Ultron is I mean, there are
pretty
misses.
Good batting average, though.
There are tons of misses, but it's
not that many.
Not ton. Okay, I misspoke. There are misses, and it's incumbent upon everybody to be open to that kind of stuff. But it's like this idea that if it's big budget and it's made by a larger group of people means it's bad is problematic. It's problematic. It's reductionist. It's lazy. It's intellectually lazy. And that's all I have to say about it.
I would agree. But I don't my final words will be, I don't know if he's saying it's bad. That's where I think I disagree with you. I mean, I agree with everything you have to say. I don't agree with him that it's not cinema.
Sure.
But I don't see him saying it's bad. He does say they're not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
He says in his world, that's not cinema. That's fine. I don't get where he gets to define what cinema is.
He's Martin Scorsese.
Apparently that means he gets to define what cinema is.
That's what in his mind, I would say.
But the other problem with this is somebody asked him about this. Like we would have never heard about this. Why did anyone ask him about this? Why did this come up? Why does he even care to share his answer to this?
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's problematic also because I do understand that on maybe a bad day, and I would, if I really decided to dig my heels in, I would have to deal with this. But it's like, I would probably say the new Terminator is not cinema.
Okay.
And then somebody would be like, well, what gives you the right to...
Terminator, right. No, I think it's all cinema, right? I mean it's like the idea. There's shitty cinema.
There's shitty cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
you would say Roma is shitty cinema.
I would say it's really funny you brought that up because when I was thinking about that, I think it's actually really intellectually lazy. There's so much lazy about this, but it's like it's so lazy to say like, oh, it's black and white and it's about real people, about real events, therefore it's good.
Okay. Do you think that's what happened with Roma?
I think some people think that,
because I really enjoyed Roma.
And I'm not going to discredit you. I don't think that you disingenuinely enjoy it. I think there are some people that is what they want to see. And they're going to glaze over the fact that it's a fucking snore fest.
Okay.
And maybe it has stuff to say. Does it have more to say than maybe another big blockbuster? I don't know.
Sometimes maybe yes. Sometimes
maybe
no.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean... Fuck, I really want to talk about the new Terminator because it's exactly what he should be shitting on.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
All right, because that movie fucking blew.
First off, I want to right off the bat say something's up here because how does this sit at like 70% on Rotten Tomatoes?
They're paid off. The fake critics.
And I don't think that.
No, I don't.
I really don't think that. I do think there's a political angle to that. And we're going to have to talk about the feminist topic here because this is one where Usually I like the Jeremy Geeks and Gamers type guys just piss me off because it's just like, shut the fuck up.
They have almost no point whatsoever.
Usually. Right.
Yeah.
This one, I'm sure they go places I would never even go. I haven't really looked into it, but I would imagine that a lot of the shit they say about the feminist angle of this movie, I would actually agree with. It is overbearingly stupid how wedged in and ridiculous the political and feminist and all of the shit that they're throwing at you during this movie.
I'm gonna let you tackle that for right now. Okay. My initial thoughts are this is the Force Awakens of the Terminator franchise. It is so incredibly lazily put together. None of the scenes have a decent pacing. None of the characters are interesting. It redoes everything from the franchise, but worse. And it undoes the two greatest installments in this franchise.
Yes.
With
two
no
classics, bona fide film classics. You could argue that they're both A+ movies,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, it does do that. And let's start there because obviously it's a reboot in the style of The Force Awakens where some of all of the story beats are the same.
All of them.
Yeah. So
all of them.
So why is The Force Awakens good and this isn't? Is it just because of the characters being better in The Force Awakens? The fact that it has a quicker pace? It has...
I think there are a multitude of factors. I think the music is better. I think the shot composition is better. I think the script is better. I think the characters are better. I think the acting is better. I think literally every goddamn thing about that movie is better.
Yes,
in every
100%.
Way.
Everything is better.
Everything is better.
Better.
But really, a lot of it comes down to they tried to tweak things just enough in Force Awakens so it wasn't an exact carbon copy.
That's true.
And the characters were likable.
Yeah, no. And in this, like right off the bat, you start with the Terminators being sent to the current time.
Yes.
And it's the exact same fucking thing.
It's the exact same.
Down to the Protector character getting the clothes off of.
Yes.
Like, it is unbelievable.
It's incredibly lazy. I mean, the fact that they even had like another liquid transformer, and they're like, oh, look, but it's different because it's also it's the T-800 and the T-1000 together. That's why it's different. It's like, no. You literally took the two things from the previous movie and you merged them. That's lazy.
Well, and they kind of did that in the third one.
Did
the chick was like that, but she couldn't like split into two different entities.
Which, we talked about it, and when I bring up a cool idea, I tend to remember it. But I was like, it'd be really awesome if it was like two separate Terminators, and like they had like their own identities.
Yeah, no, they don't do that.
But they don't do that. They don't do anything interesting with it. It's just a thing.
And how many fucking times do we have the close-up shot of them like blending back together?
It's garbage.
It's like 10 to 15 times.
I mean, and then they keep on.
The effect might have been cool once.
And they keep on doing the whole like, oh, look at this, like he's not dead, and it's like, we know, like we got it. You had too many action sequences for me to have the, oh my god, he's still coming for them.
Yeah,
like no, that's not how this works. I'm in a Terminator movie. You can't. It's like understand the goddamn franchise that you're in beyond the cursory knowledge of like man goes back in time to try and save person from deadly robot. You can't. This movie is white hot steaming garbage.
F?
Oh, this is such an F.
Okay, I'm giving it an F too.
This is my second least favorite of the Terminator franchise, right behind T3.
Okay, see, I don't even think that. I think T3 was leagues better than this.
And I just...
It's been years since I've seen it, but
this has higher production quality. The action sequences are better.
I don't know, man.
I think the acting might be better.
I don't know. Nick Stahl and Claire Danes were fine.
Hated it.
And that one tried to do something different. I mean, we both gave it an F, so let's just get into spoilers.
Sure.
The laziest thing about this is that it's T2 with ladies. I mean, yeah, right? I mean, that's what it is.
I mean, I don't know if I could pinpoint the laziest thing in it, I'm honest.
Well, the whole movie is literally like you are following there's one twist that is totally telegraphed because I saw it coming a mile away.
Can we talk about the fact that like anytime there's an interesting like what is that They don't answer it. Like, can I ask what you are? No, you can't. Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Like every time,
saving that for
say it for the sequel.
Yeah.
This is such sequel bait. This is exactly what Scorsese is talking about.
Yeah, no, it's true. This is terrible. The plot is you've got the Hispanic chick who is the one who needs to be protected this time. She starts off as the Linda Hamilton stand-in.
Yes.
So she is being protected by like a human with enhancements from the future.
Yep.
Because that's different because they have enhancements this time.
I mean, you could have done something interesting with that.
Yeah. But yeah, she gets sent back in time to protect her from the Terminator that has also been sent back in time.
Sure.
And basically, it's Terminator.
Yeah, it's Terminator.
It's Terminator.
It's I tell you, the thing that right from the jump, I hated the movie though, because they completely undo the two first movies by killing John Connor in the first few minutes.
Well, let's not forget they start off with clips from T2 to make you feel good about yourself.
Oh God. And I kept thinking, I was like, ooh, Linda Hamilton, she really fucking killed it in that movie.
Yeah, she was great.
It's such a like, remember how much you like this?
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you. I do remember.
Go into a scene where John, like a year or 6 months after T2, something like that, gets killed by another Arnold because they were sent multiple Arnolds back to different times, I think. Is that right?
I think that's the idea.
Right, so but
now that time doesn't exist. But
so
how is it there?
Well, Skynet sent back before it was wiped out by Linda Hamilton. It would have sent back multiple Terminators, but that was never the concept. No, that doesn't work because first of all, Arnold at the end of T2 had a chip in his head, and the reason why Skynet is no more is because he sacrificed himself with that chip in the head. Now, did every Arnold have that chip in their head?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right, because I mean it's the whole, this is the really big problem of time travel movies, is the whole time travel paradox thing. Now T1 does this amazingly well. They do it amazingly well, and T2 ties up all of the loose ends perfectly to the point where it's a closed loop. It's done. There is no anything else.
Well, yeah. And that's that's why this doesn't work as a franchise, because the more you add to it, the less sense it makes. And T1, I mean, especially is just a lean movie that doesn't try to get too much into, it's very basic. T2, considering what the task at hand was, as far as expanding that lore, did it as well as you possibly could.
Yeah.
And then it just turned into a steaming pile of shit. Now, this one takes place after T2. None of it really makes much sense. So they stopped Skynet, right? But now there's, what's it called again? The new Skynet? Legion.
We are Legion.
So what are they as, like in Star Wars, they would be the First Order. They're like the First Order. Yep. They're the replacement, but they're exactly the same, right?
Yes.
So apparently the movie goes on. She's protecting her because she is the mother of the future John Connor, because we're going to have another John Connor, apparently. Which I knew was a goddamn bullshit line, because Sarah's like, you have a kid and blah blah blah, and nobody confirmed it. It's like, well, of course that's not it.
Yes.
So later,
what a twist.
Yeah, this is where, okay, so now we got these three ladies. They're driving down. I'm sorry, and I know you mentioned you thought Linda Hamilton was fun to watch in this. The only redeeming quality.
She's the only thing that I found fine.
I couldn't take it. Her coming out in that first scene, the one that was in the trailer with the missile launcher and the fucking, even in the hotel room, she's just not acting like Sarah Connor to me. She's acting like some fucking, Sarah Connor was a badass, so let's just make a cartoon badass. That's how I took her character. Performance, fine.
I think she performs the hell out of what she's given.
Right.
I think she is easily the best actress in the movie. It's not even close.
So apparently what she's been up to since young John Connor died like 20 years ago, she has been receiving text messages with locations of Terminators.
Seriously interesting idea.
Okay.
And then the revelation is just lazy.
So Carl, the new Arnold, who apparently is the same Terminator that killed John, is the one sending these texts. And stop me if I'm wrong on this. Carl killed John and felt bad about it or something?
He met a family who had an abusive father, and he saved them, and now he changes diapers.
Yes. Okay. Now,
so great that we got to see that and feel the change in this robot, just like T2. Like T2.
That's what I'm getting at here is like the concept of when a Terminator makes its kill, it kills John and Skynet was stopped. The concept of what would that being do to me is an interesting idea. Now, is the answer that he feels bad and goes and raises a family and then text messages Linda Hamilton locations of Terminators? Does that work for me? No, not particularly. But
I kept waiting for, in this movie, something to deal with like the idea of multiple futures and multiple universes. Like a multiverse. Because it's the only possible way that you make a Terminator sequel work is multiverse, multi-future. It's the only way.
And then you would just make it even more complicated.
I mean, it becomes complicated, but it's the only way that you can make it make sense. It really is.
Sure.
You know, I came from a future where this happened, and then it's like, oh, I don't know. It's just there's a way to make it work. But really, it seems like there's nobody willing to put in any sort of work into the franchise.
True. Well, and how late this movie is just the epitome of laziness. You know, we like movies with like metaphorical, like things that tie to the real world.
There's nothing in this. There's no themes.
I guess it would be that you're fucked no matter what. Like, is that the theme? Which is the opposite of Terminator. Because the whole idea was you can change.
No fate but what we make.
Right.
And then it's funny because like, what's her name? Like the blonde robot, she says that. And then Linda's just like, yeah. And it's like, motherfucker. Right. Like, that's Kyle Reese's motherfucking line.
Yeah.
And you just say, yeah.
Well,
fuck this.
So their version of like doing interesting things that like, you know, attaches to you and your soul in real life would be there's a scene at a border patrol detention center, you know, illegal detention center, whatever. And basically our characters end up there and it's torn straight out of current events. It's like you didn't even have to really write this. You just fucking saw something in the news and you wrote, let's get our characters to somehow be at a fucking detention center.
Why does he only grab one drone? If he can control
That's true.
all
and why
this
does
shit,
he wait and let them capture them in the first place? He's trying to kill them, right? He could just run the drone into them.
Get fucking 30,000 drones.
Yeah.
We probably have 30,000 at this point. Kill them all.
So then we watch the social justice porn scene where we get to watch the Terminator run through the detention center and murder border patrol agents, which honestly, like, decent put together action scene.
It was my favorite shot of the movie was the spikes coming out and killing the dudes. But I don't know if I fully agree that it was I don't agree that it was social justice warrior there, because I mean, you're supposed to, the intent of the scene is to find it horrifying what he's doing.
I don't really agree. I don't think anything in this movie is horrifying.
No,
If they wanted to make it horrifying what he was doing, he'd be killing the poor, innocent, illegal immigrant kids
He did kill a couple illegal immigrants that got in his way.
Okay, I missed that.
I saw that shot.
I missed that.
I saw that shot and I was like, you know what, they're going, and this is where it's talking about safe and vetted, because I noticed he killed those, but that was in a wide shot.
Okay, so you might not notice it.
And I was like, you know what? It's not the focus of the scene. And I feel like they were really scared about like making their Terminator, their killing machine, something unlikable.
Right, but the point is, but he shouldn't be likable.
No.
He's the fucking Terminator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's why I think Jason should have killed that kid.
You mean Michael Myers?
Michael Myers,
yeah, the baby.
Yeah, the baby.
Oh, we know. We remember.
Everybody remembers.
You know what? Maybe he should have killed that baby.
I think he should have.
That would have been brutal.
It would have been. I mean, they're monsters. The Terminator, I kept on thinking, I was like, you know what? I was like, there's a way to save this movie, and it's by actually infusing these people with characters. You can almost keep the script the same.
And you actually have characters.
But actually have characters like
I feel like they tried with like the like short-haired blonde chick with the.
They tried.
Yeah, they did. They tried.
But I look at it and I'm like,
by the way, people are giving her props on her acting in this, and I was like, I don't understand. I don't blame her. I guess. They wrote a robot character, and it's a human.
Yeah,
that's where I was like, I don't understand what they're going for.
She's clearly your Kyle Reese stand-in. It's so vacant and vapid.
She's a Kyle Reese stand-in that has the personality of a fucking robot.
And well, yeah, but the thing that like. And this is why I started getting a headache in the movie is I was like, I have to fix this. And then I got a headache. But like, I was like, you know what would be interesting? A Terminator that has a personality, because we've already done 2 with no personalities. And we did the like abrasive, like he's a rock. He's just a brute. And then we did the one who was a little bit more suave, a little bit more like can talk to you. And they kind of tried to do that with this. He's like almost affable with certain strangers.
Yes, right.
But the idea of like, now it's a Terminator and it's not only self-aware, but it also has a personality and it enjoys killing people. A psychotic Terminator that enjoys its fucking job. That would have been interesting.
Well, that's another problem is that like in T2, even like, you know, Arnold's character was reprogrammed and he's good, but he doesn't really have that internal idea of like what it means to be good.
Right.
It's like he understands what crying is.
Yeah.
But he could never cry.
Yep.
But he knows the definition. He understands why people are crying.
Mm-hmm. They don't really deal with that in this either. He's just kind of like, I love things, but it's not the same as a human.
Yeah.
It's not as good. I thought it was thought it was an asset, but now it's a weakness. Fucking hell. He
was kind of funny, though.
I hated him so much in this movie because I'm like, this is just, you're just doing T2 Terminator again.
Well, and they did that with Linda Hamilton too, because when they finally catch up with Carl up at his cabin, Linda Hamilton like freaks out and wants to go nuts on him. It's like, did you forget the fact that there's Terminators and how they're programmed is what matters and blah, blah, blah. And she somehow knows that he's the Terminator that killed her son.
I know. I'm like,
which I didn't understand at all.
It's been like 40 years, lady. Well, 30, I guess. And it's like, I mean... we have no idea. You have no idea. Right. He's old. He's an old man.
Right. It just makes no sense.
It's just, I mean, there's so much in this movie. How about
the action? Can we talk about can we just jump
how about the CGI? There's fucking Gumbies in this movie. Yes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very stupid. None of it feels... Like, you think about the first 2 Terminators and like every fucking punch had weight to it. It all felt like shit was at stake at all times.
Right. Well, and the scenes didn't go on too long, I felt.
No. Well, there's a giant action scene at the end of this. That was which gets me to my last bit of the feminist thing or political shit from the movie.
Way to make your Terminator look incompetent, though. Like, I'm sorry, but I still think he should have been a real force to be reckoned with at the end. And they really just kind of slapped him around like a bitch.
No, he was, right. You're right. They did.
It takes all tension out of your movie if that's your final action scene.
It's true.
And this is where what you're saying about the feminist angle really comes to hinder the movie, is where like, if it's about empowering women and showing them strong, it's the idea of like strength requires that what you're facing is actually very difficult to do.
Well, right. And I'm sorry, but when it's so fucking obvious and cooked up by them, like you can't take it seriously. Like Linda Hamilton's character in T2 was fucking a perfect example of how you can have a strong, like matriarchal character, a mother who's like protecting her kid, and she's a fucking badass. And in the first one, as you've mentioned before,
the whole series,
right.
Well, the first 2 were really basically feminist movies.
Yes, I would agree.
And I don't think that it's done poorly because it's done believably and It doesn't bash you over the head with it.
Yeah, and in this one we have multiple. We have one scene where basically they're teaching the new Sarah Connor character, the girl being protected. They're trying to prepare her for the big fight, and they're at the cabin. They're at Carl's cabin, and she's shooting a gun and missing the target. And Linda Hamilton walks up and is like, "Enough of this! Like, let's graduate to the big time or whatever." Hands her this big like rocket launcher thing, and then she says something along the lines of like, "That Terminator killed your mom or your brother and dad or whatever."
Right.
And that moment is her training. And it's like, well, what the fuck is it's like a small framed girl who, like, before this, there was a scene early, like 20 minutes before that scene, there's a scene where they're in a pharmacy,
right,
and like she grabs the gun and you can tell she like doesn't even know how to use the gun,
right,
and then like 15 minutes later you have this kind of shit, and it drives me nuts. And then the one that really pushed me over the edge on this, and I hate to sound like one of these fuckers, but there's a scene where the revelation happens, that she isn't going to be the mother of the next John Connor. She is the next John Connor. So we have a scene where the what's her name, the robot lady girl says to her,
Grace,
"You were never,
I remember.
Grace, you were never meant to give birth to a man who would be the whatever,
right?
And you are the whatever." And then Linda Hamilton goes, "She's John."
Yeah.
And it's just
and I don't even look at it from there's a little bit of feminism going on there. I didn't think it was as overt as you're kind of making it. That scene was pretty overt. My problem is that she doesn't seem, even in the future scene where we see her, she doesn't seem competent.
Like a leader.
They miscast her completely. She doesn't seem like a competent person. She just seems like a kid pretending to be competent.
But the idea is you have to cast like the every girl. Like any girl could just be this.
Which is why it works so well in T1 and T2, because you see the every girl go to
and
this
become a completely different person. Right.
Like, that's why it works. Here it doesn't work. That's why it really doesn't work for me.
Well, the way that in that scene in particular, that was the scene that made me laugh like out loud, because it was just like the way that the word man is accentuated. Like you were never supposed to give birth to a man who would. It's like, what? Who the fuck talks like this?
Right.
Who talks like that? Who is this movie for? You like, my wife didn't want to go see this fucking movie. You're not getting any, you're not making any fans here, you idiots. Like, people aren't going, "Oh, this is it. This is the fucking greatest because now women can feel empowered." It's like, no, you did that 25, 30 years ago with the previous two movies.
And it was awesome.
And it was amazing. Right.
I
hate it. I hated this movie so much. And all of that would be forgiven if there was any creativity, anything new to say, anything that would
they don't even do like the whole like man versus machine thing. They do like the whole like the brother gets his job replaced by a crane arm, and it's like that's their commentary. And it's like, this movie can fuck right off. There's no commentary here.
Well, the weak ass comment. Yeah, you have that's one commentary, and then there's the border patrol shit. That's another piece of commentary. But you're right. It's not like well thought out.
I don't even know if that was commentary. I just think it was a set piece. I think that they thought they were being clever by introducing something
that's
current
in the news. Sure, that could be true.
I don't think there was any commentary there.
You're kind of right. I suppose you could be. Yeah, you might be right.
And there was a moment where I was like, okay, I knew going in, because you had your post about the feminism on Facebook. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep an eye out for the feminism in this movie.
Did I mention the feminism specifically?
Maybe you didn't. And maybe I just put two and two together.
I did make a comment when somebody said, like, "Oh, really?" and was bummed. I said, if you want T2 with ladies, like, you might be happy. But
I there was a scene where I was like, okay, if she doesn't hit this woman, this movie is full on feminism, because like the blonde lady, when she gets up at the border patrol area, and she's knocked out, and then she gets up and she knocks out the two dudes, and there's a little bit of feminism that, well, it's not even feminism, it just kind of makes sense. It's like, did I tell you could look at my privates? And then she like knocks out the two dudes. But then she asks the woman who's there, like, hey, where's such and such? And she's like, thanks. And then she smacks the woman. I'm like, thank God she hit that woman. Because I was like, this movie would have been like,
been real bad.
I think it would have been really bad if like there's nothing bad that happens to a woman. All the women kick ass and all the men die.
I can't believe how fucking obvious it is in this. Like, people bitching about The Force Awakens and even The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi might have like a thing or two that's like thematically about like female empowerment. Okay, you could say Ryan wedged a couple things in there, but like Force Awakens to me is just a main character.
She's just a woman.
Right. Which I don't have a problem with at all. This movie though is just the fact that they're doing oh my God,
I just think
drove
that
me nuts.
And I do even look at like, there's an interesting idea of like, oh, well, it's like they're almost dealing with almost a plot hole in the movie or the franchise in general, which is like, well, why are you going after the mom before the kid's even born? Couldn't you kill like her dad or her dad?
Yeah, you could go back to like the 15th century and kill one of the ancient descendants.
It deals with a little bit of a silly nature to the franchise in general.
Well, that's why this franchise starts to really fall apart when you do too much. When you think too much.
When you think too much. And so I'm like, you know what? You're kind of right for pointing out the idea. Like it's a little silly. We went after a woman to kill her son. Because look how easy it was to just kill her son.
Yeah,
which totally undoes the goddamn fucking hell.
Yeah,
I hate it so much.
That's a good point.
But I just you're not doing it in an interesting way.
No,
you're not making a criticism that's interesting.
It's so terrible. And in that scene with that man thing, you're not here just to give birth to a man who's going to run the show or whatever the fuck she said. I just thought to myself, like, okay, a couple things. Who is this movie for? I never really like, and maybe I'm just an asshole, but I never really thought about like the gender of the character mattering as much. I mean, John's a character. His mother is the strong character in the Terminator movies, in my opinion.
It is prototypical to have a male be like the
savior.
The savior general type.
The general. Okay. Well, maybe there's a reason for that, though.
Historically, that's just how it's been.
Generals.
Right. Now you can make an argument that that's due to sexism throughout history.
Well, you'd be wrong.
Well, I mean,
men are more apt to be the fighting types of fucking assholes.
We do like to blow things up.
Right. But not to say that a woman can't be a general. That's not what I'm saying.
No, it's just historically they have not even been allowed to, really, for the most part.
Okay. I mean, yeah, sure.
But I mean, that's not the point of this discussion or this movie. It's just that is prototypical. That is very...
So
generic.
what this movie's doing, like, what? Okay, like,
but it's not offering anything up because it's like, of course we know that a woman could do this. Like anybody who has a brain knows that a woman could do what John Connor was doing. It's not hard.
He's like the strategist.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not hard. You know what I fucking hate about this though? It's like this whole goddamn, like they show that mission where like she's going in and doing something, like the blonde girl in the future. She's doing something. Right. And they do like the whole like, we're going to drop in the zone in 16 seconds or whatever.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is this, Starship Troopers? Like you're on a planet dominated by killer robots and you're screaming in a helicopter and then you're just,
Starship Troopers, 1,000,000 times better than this movie.
Oh, it's not even close. The thing I loved about the first movie was the idea that like we were scavengers taking out a Terminator or two at a time because that's what we could do and we hid. And that's what we did.
You can't have the giant action scenes,
man. Fuck that. That was the cool like that's why I love Kyle Reese. It's like he's not this big hulking brawny dude. Guy. He's a normal guy, just kind of cut because like food probably a little scarce in the future.
He's a fucking great character.
And it's like that's how it should have fucking been. And no, we had to make it fucking hoorah, Call of Duty, bro.
No, of course.
Fuck you.
Well, because the next movie is going to be like all that, but the next movie, thankfully, probably
will never
isn't
happen.
going to happen. Yeah,
29 million opening weekend.
But last thing to say about this, I have to talk about the last action scene. Which by the time we were 3 minutes into that last action scene, I didn't even know it was happening anymore. Like they get on a plane, a big slow cargo plane to escape, and then the fucking thing catches them in like 2 seconds. Then there's a big fight, and they get on the Humvee, which gets dropped out of the plane with an umbrella on it.
Yeah.
It ends up landing on a dam, which then the Humvee falls off the dam into the water, and there's this giant
Nothing's
water
happening.
Sea. It makes no. I was so lost,
like things
man.
are happening on the screen, but nothing of importance happens for the last half an hour, 40 minutes.
And then they have the nerve when Arnold kills the Terminator, Wait, no, the girl uses Grace's like brain thing, like her chip or whatever.
Which,
to kill
by the way, we
Terminator.
all knew that was coming.
Right.
Saw that fucking a mile away.
So she kills the Terminator and Arnold like finishes it off or something. And they have the nerve to have him look up and say, "For John."
For John. Yep. I mean, I kept thinking, I was like, we already had him do the noble sacrifice in T2. Like, you can't.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You can't just keep redoing these things and expect me to feel the same
the
shit.
The end of T2 is so good.
I mean, it'd be like if every Captain America movie ended with Cap being like, "I'm with you to the end of the line," to Bucky.
Right.
And so, no, you don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah, you don't do that especially with a character we don't give a fuck about.
Like, yeah, a character that we met in the middle of the second act of this movie, and then we're told, wow, he had an amazing arc, didn't he? Wow, that was so great.
It was so bad.
The pacing in this is fucking awful, though.
James Cameron can go fuck himself, by the way.
He's
out doing the fucking rounds on this movie like it's fucking great. This is different. This is the new, like those other Terminator movies, fuck them. This is going to be the new trilogy Terminator.
You said the same thing about Genesis.
Yeah, which, by the way, is a worse movie, but it's also better because it actually has something interesting going on.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculously stupid, but it's
really
also
stupid, but there's Emilia Clarke who is somewhat enjoyable to watch in this role. Somewhat. And J.K. Simmons has a great line in it.
J.K. Simmons is in it. You have, what's his name, playing older John Connor, doing a little something. Yeah.
Matt something or other?
Jason Clarke.
Yeah,
he's doing so, at least, like, I'm not a huge fan of what they did, but at least they, like, took John Carter and did something interesting. John Carter. Yeah, wish it was John Carter. John Connor and did something interesting.
Nope.
Like, no, they can't do that. No.
Well, they
just kill John Connor now.
I'm so fucking pissed. You undid two of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, you could argue that.
I think they're in like the top 50. I would say, in my opinion, based on what I've seen in my life, I fucking love those movies.
Are they James Cameron's best movies?
He's
made some really good fucking movies.
I would say probably so. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, Aliens you could put in there, I
suppose.
Aliens
is up there for sure.
But
anyways, that's a talk for a different day. Let's talk about something so much better, so much unbelievably better. I can't believe I saw these two movies within like 2 days of each other.
Let's talk about Nazis.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Boy, oh boy, sure is a bad time to be a Nazi. Jojo Rabbit.
Yes. Wonderful little movie.
Latest from Taika Waititi. The man is a goddamn visionary.
You think so, huh?
I think he's like... I mean, the dude is batting 100 right now.
Is he making cinema?
I think absolutely he is.
He is great.
I think this movie made me cry. And I did not expect to cry in this.
Is it his best movie?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, I think Wilder People is better. And I do have a soft spot for Ragnarok. It's tough. Because it's not all Taika on that one. Because it's the property on that one.
Boardroom
movies. The boardroom movies, yeah. Yeah, the boardroom movie that Taika improvised 80% of the fucking lines on.
He's good. This movie was great. I really liked it.
So basic premise is that a little boy growing up in Nazi Germany, his father is absent, Scarlett Johansson is his mother. He wants to be a good young Nazi because, that's what propaganda would tell you to do at that time.
Right.
I mean, even at the time, they talked about, like, if your parents say anything against the party, like, disregard your parents, which is like one of the biggest things. Like that's how you get kids involved with your movement, is tell their parents to fuck off.
Right.
But anyways, he has an imaginary Hitler friend, played by Taika Waititi. Adolf. Yes. And it's about him finding a little Jewish girl in his walls. His
played by Thomasin McKenzie from Leave No Trace, and she is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Alfie is
Alfie Allen.
Alfie Allen is the main kid.
Oh wait, no, Alfie Allen. Alfie Allen was he's Greyjoy.
Alfie Allen is in the movie.
Yes, he's in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't know the main kid's name, the actor.
I mean, I feel like we owe it to him to learn his name.
because he is really good.
I mean, that's the other thing about Taika Waititi, not to distract from this kid's acting, which was phenomenal. But Taika always puts in a great performance from all of his kid actors. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I would agree. His name's Roman Griffin Davis, by the way. We'll just call him Roman. But yeah, no, the kids are both great. I think this Thomasin McKenzie, I said last year,
she's great.
I thought she should have been up for Best Actress. That was my argument.
Best supporting actress, right? Or would
she
it
be supporting? I would say actress.
That's actually, you know what? That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So that was my opinion. Now, should she have won it? No, because Toni Collette should have won it. Yeah. But neither one of them were nominated because fuck you. But I would say she deserves to be up for Best Supporting Actress right now for this movie.
She's amazing. Yeah. Also, Scarlett Johansson puts in one of my favorite performances from. She is one of the greatest. I would say I'll put it up there. She's one of the greatest single moms in cinema history. I would say. Oh,
really?
I think
all those single mom movies,
all the single ladies, all the single moms.
You know, we need more representation in the single mom world.
I mean,
Terminator, single mom. Although that was a single mom movie.
It was a single mom movie.
Yeah, that's true. Never mind.
But yeah, no, I think she's great in this. I think Taika is. I mean, he's
hilarious.
He's always.
He's got like the goofier role to play.
Yes.
Whereas,
which is perfect for him.
The two that are the linchpins of the movie to me are the kids, and they're both fucking awesome.
Yes.
I almost cried at this.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's got a great message. Sam Rockwell's great.
Sam Rockwell is great. I do like Alfie Allen in it. What's her name?
He's kind of a goon, but yeah,
he doesn't have much of it. He's funny in that I have a feeling if you choose to watch him in the scenes where he's not the focus, he'll be doing something funny,
goofy. Yeah, right.
Oh God, and what's her name? The bigger
Rebel Wilson.
Rebel Wilson. She's great. She's great in it too. Phenomenal cast, phenomenal writing, amazing message. I mean, really, it's sort of the look at what war is and what propaganda does to children.
Yeah, and it's the idea that, you know, people can change, I guess.
Yeah.
Kids, you know, I mean, he's an impressionable kid, and it has the extra added bonus of treating Adolf Hitler like a cartoon loser, fucking idiot character.
Yes,
like because that's genius. That's what I loved about it.
It's one of the greatest things I think that the movie does is that it's like most war is usually brought about by one idiotic, fanatical loser. And then somebody else having to deal with that idiotic, fanatical loser.
And everyone in here who's like the actual hardline Nazis is like a clownish moron.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, like they all, there's a scene where they come to check the house, the Nazis do, and there's like, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler.
Oh my God.
And it's funny because it is subject matter that should be... Yeah, you know, I think you have to show some care when you're talking about this stuff.
I feel like he did an amazing job.
Right, I would agree.
I cannot believe that there is any criticism about how he handled it.
I would say this is a nitpick alert.
Okay.
But I would say I almost wish that it went a little farther with the harsh things that the Nazis did. But then I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, okay, well, that's, you know, we know that shit, right?
Right. This is about a child's perspective on it, and the children in this movie did not experience those things.
Right. But at the same time, I almost feel like it's like, okay, well, some people are genuinely evil, and it's hard to, I don't know. It's not that kind of a movie, but I almost wish, I guess my complaint would be, I wish it went farther with that concept.
I think the idea was that there are evil people Because I think that
like the Gestapo characters,
right? Yeah, I think that I think
Hitler, even Hitler himself was evil.
I think it was the idea that children are not inherently born with hate in their hearts.
They're impressionable.
That's fed to them.
Yes,
and it's nothing new. It's not something I didn't know, but it's a nice message, and it's an interesting. It's one of the most universal settings you could put it in.
Right,
everybody knows this time.
It.
Yeah. So it's fantastic. I loved this movie. This is in my top 5 of the year.
Okay.
I fucking loved it. This is a straight A. It's almost an A-.
I'm going to give I'm going to give it an A too. Just because like it's like the things I don't like about it are very much me things. Maybe it's the tone, and it's tough because that's what he's going for, right? Like a serious movie with laughs too. But sometimes it felt like I was going a little too long without laughing, and I almost forgot that I was watching a comedy. And then it would be like slapsticky for a few minutes, and then it was like, okay, well, now I feel like I'm not watching something so serious. But I will say all of the shit with the little boy and the girl in the wall and her and him getting to know each other, that stuff to me was perfect. It was amazing. Yep. And I thought it was incredible.
I think I loved every single scene in this. I mean, the very opening, starting out the movie with, the Beatles and having the juxtaposition between the Beatles and Nazi Germany,
the Nazi camp,
the Nazi fervor. This is Hitler fever, baby. Like that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, that's amazing.
It was. What did you think of? I guess thinking about scenes. Well, first off, you're giving it an A. I'm giving it an A.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the whole slapsticky like battle scene at the end? Like when they come to town and
I loved it because it shows the ridiculousness to which, because those are real things that happened. Women were actually being soldiers in those situations. And it's like factual that there were actually children dressed as soldiers during So to me, showing the absurdity of that and showing like the absurdity of where this society had fallen, I loved. And I loved the fact that because I feel like it was a very character-driven moment for Sam Rockwell when he comes out all in his full regalia.
Great.
You get the idea that he and Alfie Allen,
they're gay.
They're gay.
Yes.
And the fact that he's like, well, you know what? If I'm going out, I'm going out.
Fuck it.
I'm going out as me. And I loved that.
Yes, his character was awesome.
But then but they only deal with sort of the silliness for a little while, because then you get right into the horror of like what little JoJo experiences when it's all going crazy.
Sure.
And then
you get a little bit of that, but you also get him like bumping into his friend, and there's this like goofy slapsticky conversation, which by the way, that kid is funny, the one with the glasses.
Yeah.
But he doesn't feel as real to me as other characters in the movie, which I hate to shit on that kid, but
I would agree. He doesn't feel as real. He feels like a little bit more of a comic relief character.
Yeah. He's like right. But
I like him too. I
liked him. I didn't hate him.
I like everything he says. I absolutely adored this.
So this is a top 5er, huh?
This is a top 5. I think the scene, I think that there's going to be one scene that everybody talks about in this, which is when he starts following the butterfly and then the shoes are revealed and it's Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
Simply amazing. That was...
You just brought up another problem, and it's not that scene, but to me, it's like, okay, well, no one knows who she was or went to her house after they hanged her. Like, what? The kid just lives in the house alone now. Like,
I think that
some of that was confusing. Like,
I think that kind of made sense to me because they were literally dealing with an invasion within the next like day or so.
Yeah, I suppose, but it also seemed like a very small little like town that they kind of, everybody kind of seemed to know each other.
Berlin, right?
But the way they had the movie set up, it was just like, it didn't feel big enough, like where that would be like, I feel like they'd kill her and then they'd go raid her property for all of her valuable shit.
Maybe,
you know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean,
but again, that's like nitpicky because it doesn't really matter. It's just that was something that popped into my head. Like, wait a minute. So now this kid just lives alone and nobody, this is just
right. I mean, it was a thought that popped in my head. I also realized I was like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, I'm the nitpicker today.
Yeah. No, I cannot believe this has an 80% from critics and a 98% from audiences. I think the critics who are like, oh, this doesn't deal with the subject matter respectfully, I think they can all get fucked. I think that he dealt with it in a genius way, I would say. I would say that the movie really knows what it's saying, and it's really on you to like misinterpret it.
How does this have an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes? It's so much better than that.
It's his first movie out of the 90s.
People need to get the fucking like political garbage off of Rotten Tomato. What did Joker get?
I don't even remember.
Like, I get it. I guess you're going to like or dislike a movie partly if it like lines up. If it offends you, maybe you won't like it. But people really need to fucking separate that shit. Don't see it and review it. If you,
but it's not even saying the things that they're trying to.
I don't think they're saying that. I don't think they would claim that it's saying anything offensive. I think that they would say that this wouldn't be the type of time, like you can't use this in any sort of a humorous way. I mean, the concept of like a slapsticky, goofy, imaginary friend Hitler on its own is going to make it so people don't like this movie. I think. And then the audience scores high because they're all people who don't give a shit about that. They just want to go see a good movie.
And it happens to be a great one.
Right. So they're not being forced to see it. Those are people that want to see it. Yeah. It's fucking really good. This high recommendation on this.
Would you put it in your top 10 or no?
Maybe. I'd have to look. I thought it was great.
We're getting down there.
I know,
now.
Down to the wire, isn't it?
And it's crazy because there have been like really good movies in the last 2 weeks.
In the last two episodes that both of us, I think, have you have a top 10. It sounds like this one's going to be solidly in your top 10.
Yes.
But Dr. Sleep could make your top 10?
You could, yeah.
Right.
And Lighthouse might too.
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy.
So this is crazy, right? We're living in crazy times.
Yep.
But it was fucking great. I really liked it.
And then we have Ford and Ferrari coming up too.
Yeah,
soon.
God damn.
And then there's
what's the Roland Emmerich one comes out this weekend.
Which one's the Roland Emmerich one?
The World War II airplane one. Midway. With like the 8,000 people cast, like Independence Day 5.
Right.
Yeah. It's just gonna be.
I saw that trailer for the first time. I was like, I didn't even know this movie was coming out.
It's like, well, it looks like they spent a lot of money on this. Yeah.
I'm glad that you put some in there for your budget for marketing.
It's going to make nothing. Yeah, There's no way it makes money.
Nope. I have literally nothing for shit we watched. We are saving our spoiler review for Dr. Sleep for next week.
Yeah. I have one thing I can discuss.
Okay.
Two, actually. First off, I'll talk about the Stephen King adaptation on Netflix, In the Tall Grass, or whatever, The Tall Grass.
Right, yeah.
Fucking stupid.
It looked stupid to me.
It's like a 15, 20-minute premise that they stretch to like almost 2 hours, and within like 10 minutes of the movie, you're like, wait a minute, so
it's just tall grass?
This is them all in tall grass. There's a couple interesting things, I guess. But by the end, I was so lost. It gets so goofy and convoluted. It was like they needed to bring M. Night in as a consultant. Oh, no. It's very M. Night-ish.
Oh, no.
He could have fixed this, I feel like. Oof. It still would have been bad.
That is.
But he would have known how to like make a hook in this.
This is how I know that you're a villains guy. You're like, the Emperor, bring M. Night on. Wow.
It was very like 5 minutes into it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is like an M. Night movie. Okay. This totally there's like some weird premise.
It's like Signs.
Yeah.
Got Signs, flashbacks.
I suppose. But no, it's way worse than Signs. I'm going to give this a D+. I had moments of entertainment. There's some disturbing stuff I guess I liked. The concept is kind of neat. what they do with it, because like basically you find out that like this all is it's like a time travel-y type thing too, like parallel universe type thing. So some of that was nice, but overall it sucked. Now the one I'm happy to report on is Jack Ryan season 2.
Oh, I heard that this is much improved.
Vastly improved. Now, is the story way better? No. But if anyone goes back and listens to my Jack Ryan season 1 discussion,
you like borderline didn't even want to recommend it to Jack Ryan fans.
Right. Because I liked a lot of it, but the problem was there was so many stupid fucking moments in it where it's like, who wrote this?
Right.
Like it just took me out. Every couple episodes, some absolutely asinine fucking thing would happen. Like this guy gets hit by a drone strike and lives. There's a scene involving like a PS4 and this terrorist using it.
I remember that.
There's a scene where basically that they've got people in witness protection, but they give the kids iPads with like internet video games on it.
I do remember your nitpicks on this, strangely.
So that kind of shit is it's gone. It's gone pretty much in this. I can't think of a moment in this season where it was like, this is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
The plot is now the socialist Venezuela is our place of, you know, the current event type thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They've got an election happening and the current dictator is up against this more liberal woman.
Sure.
And it's interesting. It kind of ties into current events. It's got Jaquan Hagar from Game of Thrones. A man likes to do this. A man likes to do that.
I really like him.
Yeah. He's
Where
in
the
it.
fuck did he go? Thanks, D&D. You fucks.
Yeah, so he's in it. The guy who betrayed Young in Blow, in the Johnny Depp Blow movie, that actor's in it as the dictator.
Okay.
It's really good. Hey, big time. I love Krasinski in this now.
Wow.
He's not saddled with a relationship in this. That's one interesting thing is in the first season, he was in a relationship. It was like a big part of the plot. In this one, they don't even bring her up. It's very strange, but
sexist.
But you know, I liked it though, because he's off doing this thing in another country, right?
Sure.
And it's like the only way I could think of where it would work is if like, okay, well, Jack has to leave the room and make the 5-minute phone call to check in on his sweetheart.
Which does slow down the pacing if you don't make it a main thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Numi Rapis or whatever, Rapis, whatever the fuck her name is from, the Dragon Tattoo movies and shit. She's in this.
Oh, she's good. I like her.
I like her too. I thought it was really good. This is now a full-fledged recommendation from me.
That's great.
I'm going to give the second season a B+. It's not the greatest thing in the fucking world, but it's not broken anymore.
It's not broken.
It was like a really nice looking car that you couldn't start the first season. They tuned up a mid-range car and they said, oh, here you go. You can drive this one, Like, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good.
Grade?
B+. I said
okay.
that. Listen, why don't you? But
I was halfway listening.
So this one was so good that I watched the first 3 episodes like on Friday when it dropped or something. And then Sunday night, I started the 4th episode. It's 8 episodes and I finished it at like 2:30 in the morning. So I watched it in 2 sittings.
Shit.
Yeah, it's good. That's it for me. What are we seeing this weekend? We've got Midway and Last Christmas. I think those are the 2.
Oh, fuck. I think next week is going to be a topic week. Maybe it'll be somebody's favorite movie.
Yeah, okay. That works for me.
God damn.
Last Christmas.
You know what? That's great. I don't have to go and spend money on a terrible movie. I might go see
Last Christmas. I might.
Okay.
Don't you want to see Emilia Clarke and her big role after post 9/11?
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to shit on her because this might just be I want to do something different thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, whatever.
We'll see where she's at in 5 years.
Oh, look at that.
I'm not saying she'll be anywhere. I'm not saying it's going to be bad or good. I'm just saying we'll see. Then maybe we can shit on her.
I mean, can we just shit on her now?
I don't mind her. She's all right. It's not her fault.
All right to look at.
Jesus Christ. God, I had a friend who's like, you know who I love? Jessica Simpson. And I was like, her music is fucking awful. And he's like, yeah, she's hot though.
Touche.
Yeah, that's real nice. Sure.
Well, yeah, have a good week, everyone.